Welcome to Health Professionals Outside the Box podcast. In this series, I'll be talking to health professionals who've leveraged their professional skills to pursue alternative income sources, alternative careers, and entrepreneurship. We will gain insight into their motivations, experiences, and challenges, and learn how we too can carve our own path to finding purpose, fulfillment, and financial freedom. I'm your host, Fee. Thank you for listening. So welcome back to this episode of the podcast. Joining me today as a guest is Dr. Jamil Foridi. He's a doctor in the NHS and CEO and co-founder of a healthcare startup called NovaBleep. Dr. Foridi, welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Tell us about yourself and your professional background.
Okay, I'm currently a doctor in F1 in Shrewsbury and Telford Trust. I graduated from Trinity College, University of Cambridge at around April last year, so it's been almost 12 months now. During medical school, obviously I did my medical degree, but I was very interested in business back then as well. So I used to attend a lot of the business lectures in the Judge Business School. I did entrepreneurship and technology as part of my BA degree that we have to get in our third year. And then throughout the fourth and fifth year of medical school, I was attending MBA lectures. And by the sixth year of medical school, I was contributing towards a lot of business competitions and taking part in them. I've had 2 startups in the past, my current one, NovaBleep, and one prior to that. And yeah, that's about it really. So currently I'm just a doctor and I've got a startup.
Have you always wanted to be a doctor?
I wouldn't say so. I think it just happened by chance. I was 17, applying to university, just applied to medicine.
Yeah. So how did the idea of developing the NovaBleep software come about, and what problems does that solve?
Okay. So the idea actually came about there was one day where me and one of my friends sat down and neither of us were enthusiastic, I'll say, about being a doctor and finishing off as a doctor. And both of us had a sort of entrepreneurial mindset. And so we just came out with loads of business ideas. By the end of that day, we had around 12 or 13. And we didn't just have simple ideas, we talked it through. So we spent hours talking through 13 different ideas. And NovaBleep was just one of those ideas. The reason that I went forward with NovaBleep was because there was competition in that market. However, in other ones, there weren't as much competition. So I thought, if there's one to do that is more time viable, I don't know, time sensitive, that's the word. This is the most time sensitive one. The other ones I can do in years to come. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah. So what is it? So what does it do? What problems does it solve?
It's a communications application as the most basic part of it. So it's basically a page replacement for doctors to communicate to other doctors or for nurses to communicate to doctors within a hospital setting. Extra features that it has are it helps with job prioritization. So it will task your the tasks that you are sent, it will order them by severity level, such as an emergency task or a routine or an urgent task. One of the reasons that we put it as an app format is because statistics show that 80% of current healthcare professionals have medical apps already downloaded on their mobiles that they use within hospital settings. And a research study done by NICE showed that around 98, I think it was, percent of healthcare professionals are happy to use their mobile in a work setting. In addition to that, because it's on the mobile phone, you no longer would have to carry a pager device at all. And the pager comes with its own set of problems that you can sort of bypass if you develop your own software on a mobile. One of the main hindrances of a mobile is if someone has their phone on Do Not Disturb. However, we were able to bypass that on both Android and iOS, so that if your phone is on Do Not Disturb and you are sent an emergency bleep during your shift patterns, the emergency bleep will still come through and you'll be notified. However, on top of that, as the most basic concept of being a page replacement, we've been working a lot on AI as well in the background, so that we're developing a system which is sort of the Alexa of medicine, or the Siri of medicine, where this will be able to answer medical queries, not for a patient, but for actual doctors. So very like healthcare specific questions. An example would be like, just say the doctor needs help with treating a patient. So this patient has a potassium level of 6.4, what should I do? Via like integrations with electronic patient records, the like Nova will be able to pull in what exactly, like how old is this patient, what are their like past ECGs. If an ECG is like, so certain hospitals don't have integration perfectly with like ECGs into electronic patient records, but for the hospitals that do, Nova would then be able to look at the ECG, look at what the potassium levels are, what they've been, and they will be able to tell that doctor exactly what to do.
That's amazing.
So that is like basically the roadmap as well of where we're going with this.
All right. And so you mentioned earlier that you downloaded onto your mobile phone.
Yes.
So how do you ensure patient confidentiality then, you know, if I'm having to use my mobile phone?
So this comes with different things. So you're allowed to import patient details into the app, and then the patient confidentiality comes from like information security management, certain certification standards that you have to reach, and the fact that none of the data is to be breached from the app. So you have to meet certain standards such as like Cyber Essentials, ISO 27001, DCB 0129. So these are just certification standards that you must meet. And then in sort of like the company like guidelines, they have to say that, so we're not like necessarily looking at the backend data. The data that is stored, we're not even using that for our AI. We're doing something called federated machine learning, which means that we never actually have to pull the data out for us to use it to train algorithms. This is all being trained whilst you're using the app on your mobile phone. So that's the sort of things that you have to worry about with patient confidentiality. You just have to make sure you're not taking the data, you're not spilling the data out anywhere, and no one can just get access to that data.
Okay, so it's quite secure. No one can. Okay.
Yeah, no one can get the data, and all the data is also deleted after a certain time period.
Okay.
Yeah, we've kept it for a certain time period in case hospitals want it for audit purposes. That time period we just put as 3 months, but after 3 months, even the hospital can't get any of the data. We can't get any of the data. It's fully wiped.
Did you have a background in software development, or did you outsource it?
Half. So I wouldn't say I've got backgrounds. Like I did like school and then medical, like medicine and university, but on the side I was like looking at software throughout my whole time. Like the first company, obviously, like built that entirely myself. Yeah, it's just like things that I've picked up just
over the years.
Outsourced like the parts that I didn't want to do because like I started working a full-time job, so I outsourced some of the development. But like all of the AI stuff is currently just myself and 2 of my friends. The like actual just building the app, like the front end development, we outsource that. Although that's not like, it's not a difficult part to outsource. It's just where do I prioritize my time?
Okay.
And what can I outsource?
Is the NHS your client, your sole client, or do you have private organizations as well interested?
So I've had a bit of international interest, but we haven't followed through with anything as of yet. Like currently we want to do it throughout the NHS slowly, because like you obviously have your product, and then like we've got the basic part, the communication part. The AI part will take a lot longer to roll out because you have to make sure it's safe. You have to like cover a lot of things. So healthcare is quite broad. Like the potassium example is just one example. You're going to have like millions of different variables that you have to train algorithms on. So that will be years in the making. And like sort of you do it one step at a time. So this is like product building, and then there's scalability. You still have to make sure like everything is secure, and you have to continuously make sure everything is secure as you get more and more users using it. Yeah. So we're trying to build up very slowly.
Okay. So when I spoke to you over a week ago, I mentioned that I came across your profile on the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur Training Program.
Yeah.
What does that program entail?
So they do pit stop events where they gather like the people who are part of the program, and they give you sort of like business lectures, and it allows you to network with other like doctors with entrepreneurial interests. People often like talk about their ideas, and they get advice from other people to talk about their ideas. So it's mostly like just working through the network effect of if you know someone who might be useful to this person, you'll just introduce them, put them in contact. They might do the same for you. You might bounce ideas off each other, or you might just learn from each other's experiences.
So is it just for doctors or multidisciplinary?
It's multidisciplinary.
Okay, all right. And what's the application process like? Is it quite competitive?
It's competitive, but I can't say exactly how competitive it is. I'm entirely sure. I got accepted whilst I was a fifth-year medical student out of a 6-year degree. So you don't have to be a doctor. Like, I was a medical student when I got accepted. I'm not sure what the statistics are, but you did an application form and then you get interviewed. At the time, they were doing in-person interviews. I think currently they do like online interviews because of COVID. However, at the time, I was also in St. Lucia. So my call then was like video call as well. And from memory, it was 3 people on the other side and me on like in St. Lucia, and the internet connection was like extremely poor. And it kept cutting off. But yeah, like that was how the interview process was.
Oh, is it just one stage of interview, or do you have to go?
Yeah, I only had one stage of interviews.
And
but they cut my interview short because of the poor internet connection. So I'm not like how long it's meant to be.
Yeah. And did you have to send in like a proposal of an idea that you had?
So I sent in a proposal of the company I had and a company I was working with. Okay. But I think a lot of people are putting in ideas that they have but haven't necessarily started.
Oh, okay. So they do accept you just having an idea, right? Okay. Yeah. And did you receive funding for the business from the NHS, or did you identify other different sources of funding?
So I didn't go to them with the NovaBleep idea. So I'm not sure that they actually know about it even now. I've not really mentioned it to them on their website. I've not even put it in my description. So they didn't give me funding. They don't have their own funding pot either, but they just give you advice on which funding streams might be applicable to you, or like give you advice on like which business direction you should be moving in so that you can write a better business proposal.
Ah, I see. So how, because funding is one of the big, in my opinion, from what I've heard from other people, is funding is one of the biggest sort of stumbling blocks that people have with regards to starting a business. Did you do any research in terms of organizations, or did you fund the business by yourself out of pocket?
Oh, no. So we won like various competitions at the start. So we got funding for those. I think funding is a hard part of starting a business, but like fortunately, my co-founder and I were not in that difficult position. So we won like quite a lot of competitions. So yeah, we were just fortunate in that.
Yeah. Okay. So you applied for competitions.
Yeah.
Many. Okay. And I saw that you mentioned in one of your websites that in 2016 you founded the e-commerce store called 9 Figures. What were you selling? What products were you selling?
So I was selling like various products on that as well. That was more of a like trend catcher or trend catching kind of store, whereby if a product was selling well on eBay or Amazon, I'd get a manufacturer to make it in bulk and I'll be selling it from that. Initially, it was a drop shipping store where, someone orders and then you send it from China. However, afterwards, I built a good relationship with one certain supplier who would make them quickly for me. And then I had a warehouse in California, and I would send it in bulk to California and then send them from California to where the customers were. My customers were predominantly US based, which meant that it made sense for me to have my warehouse in California so that I could offer next day or 2-day or 3-day shipping max. If I was doing it from China, sometimes the shipping times were 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, I was just selling random trending products. My main product that I started advertising a lot was a light up mask. This is it's like an LED mask that just lit up. And and I had like various ad campaigns for that. Like, for example, like if people watch rap videos, they would have seen my mask, but not necessarily know that I'm the one who made it, or I'm the one who sold like millions of them. But yeah, it's just like this light up mask that a lot of rappers now use. It's in a music video as well.
Has it?
It's been in lots of music videos, like lots of rap ones. But there was, I think it's Chainsmokers. They bought it in bulk, and they used it in their entire video.
All right, I'll probably have to look that up after this interview.
Yeah.
And you sold it. What was that part of your exit strategy, or you sold it due to other reasons?
It was because of timing. So I actually miss it now. And that was like, I used to call it my first baby. But I spent like 4 years, 5 years doing it. I sold it because I didn't have enough time to follow it through.
Were you doing it alongside your training?
Yeah. So currently I'm doing F1, MBA, NovaBleep, and then 9 figures would have been like the fourth big thing. I just didn't have enough time, so I ended up selling it to someone who had wanted to buy it off me for 2 years.
Ah, right. Okay. So you knew the buyer.
Yeah, I knew the buyer.
Yeah. And so why'd you miss it?
I missed the excitement of it. Yeah. So I think e-commerce is a different type of sector to healthcare. In healthcare, you have to jump through all the like regulatory hurdles. In AI, you have to train algorithms, like build models. All of it's quite slow. 9 figures was very, very fast paced. It's something different that I miss because I guess I'm not getting that anymore. Like I'm still in like the business world, but it's a different type of business now.
I know. I followed. I think on one of your Instagram pages, it states that it was your store was one of the first stores to accept cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I was the first store on the Coinbase commerce platform.
All right.
So like, I was accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin the moment stores could accept it using Coinbase.
Yeah. May you explain what cryptocurrencies is to people who don't know or who don't really understand? Just a basic explanation.
I guess if you've never heard of cryptocurrencies, it's a digital currency. So it's not like pound coins or USD. It's a different type of currency, but I would still class it as a currency.
What are the benefits of accepting cryptocurrency?
In e-com? Okay. So the reason that I accepted it was because I had been following cryptocurrency as well for quite a while. It also expands your market. So you will have people that have cryptocurrencies, but want to spend it or don't want to like withdraw that into like fiat currency, which is like your GBP or your USD. The reason that they might not want to withdraw it is because they either just want to wait for their like investments to appreciate in value, or because they don't want to take they don't want to have to pay tax when they withdraw. So they want to keep their money within crypto. Once your stores accept cryptocurrency, you now open a market to these kind of people. So now they have a place that they can spend their cryptocurrencies as opposed to having to change it to the fiat currency. A second reason that I like accepted crypto was because in the long term, I always knew that it would appreciate in value. I was buying cryptocurrencies anyway. So if I was personally invested in cryptocurrency so much that I would buy it under the like expectation that within 4 or 5 years it would be worth so much more, then it would also make sense for me to accept it as a currency, because whatever they're purchasing would be worth 4 to 5 times more in like long term.
How did you account for the changes though in the market value when you had the store? Just making sure that you don't make a loss on the original sale. So say, for example, if I had a shop and I was accepting Bitcoin and I sell my products at the current price, which is it about 40,000 at the moment?
Yeah.
30,000, about 40K for one Bitcoin. So if I sold my products and if the value of Bitcoin drops, say in about a week's time from 40K to about 30K, I would make a loss. So how would I, as a business owner, account for that? How do I monitor that value of that Bitcoin just to make sure that I don't make a loss on my original sale?
So I think the question that you are asking me is one of the reasons that a lot of people don't do it. However, for me, I saw it as two different things. So I did not account for it. I expected it to go down, up and down in value. So like at some points I was at a loss. I was expecting like cryptocurrency through the 2017, 2018, like crypto bull cycle, and then subsequently it crashed. So I had like tens of thousands of pounds that went down to basically like nothing. And I just kept holding it. However, the profit I was making from like the fiat currency, so people buying in USD and GBP, was enough to cover the cost of the business anyway. So like my operational, I was still in profit, like ignoring the cryptocurrency that I was earning, still in profit. So I was never like too worried. And then, but yeah, I was actually showing someone on my phone a few weeks ago. So one of the purchases that someone made for that mask, and they bought 3 masks, around £60 of like Ethereum, and that was worth like £1,800 now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's like in the long run, like I always had the belief that all these cryptocurrency purchases will be worth a lot more. I think in 2018 I stopped accepting Litecoin, so I was only accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum. But like because I don't like Litecoin. But yeah, I always had the belief that in the long run they will all be worth a lot more. So when it dipped, I was never worried about it.
Okay. Do you think online sellers should accept all methods of crypto or just stick to the main large cap currencies like Bitcoin, Ripple?
Yeah. I wouldn't say just stick to the large cap, and I wouldn't say accept all of them. I think people have to look into the ones that they believe would be worth a lot more, as opposed to sticking to the large cap. So there are plenty of large cap coins that I don't like. Like I mentioned, Litecoin, I stopped accepting that. I think Bitcoin Cash is probably still near the top somewhere. I don't necessarily like that, but there are some like low cap coins that I would accept, like if I was to do it now, that I am currently invested in. It just matters like which one do you think is going to appreciate in value. If you think it's going to appreciate, then you should be accepting it, to be honest.
How is it taxed in the UK?
Capital gains tax. So when you change it to like fiat currency and then try and withdraw it, you'll be paying capital gains.
Okay, all right.
It's capital gains tax is separate to like your salary tax. So just say you invested like £100,000 into something, and then it decreased in value by 10%. So now you have £90,000. You get taxed on that £90,000 at all. So you're allowed to take your original investment out without facing any tax, and up to £12,300 on top of that without taking any tax.
Oh, okay.
Anything atop of 12.3k profit is what you are taxed 20% on.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Have you always had an entrepreneurial sort of mindset?
I think so.
Yeah. When did you discover that you had this eye for business?
I used to try and like sell stuff when I was back in primary school. Yeah.
What would you sell?
It was stupid back then. Like I used to sell polystyrene. And I made up like stories that if you throw enough polystyrene at people, they'll be sick the next day. And I used to sell them for like a penny each.
Oh my God. And people would buy.
Yeah, people like kids we were just kids.
Yeah. Are any of your family members business oriented as well?
Not my like parents or my little brother is maybe, but not my sister. But then one of my uncles on my father's side is very much into business. So one of my uncles on my mother's side is like very much into business.
What's been the hardest thing about launching a startup whilst you're working full time?
It's the timing issue. It's the hardest thing. Like within medicine as well, because you work such long shifts. So you do like a 13-hour shift, you come back and then you're not going to work that day. You're just too tired. And then that's like one day of no work for your startup. which like it eats away at like the progress that you could be making. And then obviously people want to have meetings with you, but you can't make a lot of the meetings because you're working 6 days a week in the hospital, and it holds a lot of progress.
Yeah. How do you sort of balance your time then?
I don't know. I guess I've just gotten used to it. So obviously, like the time at work is just the time at work. You can't really do anything about that. And then outside of work, the next thing that takes priority is NovaBleep, which is the company that we're building. I don't really get days off at all. So like this is my annual leave. I've been just doing NovaBleep the entire day. Like
so you use your days off to work on your company, the startup.
Yeah. So all of my annual leave so far within medicine has been used because I had to take a meeting for NovaBleep on that date, because it was an important meeting, or I was talking to like hospitals about like piloting it or something. So there are no days off anymore. The timing is the hardest part. It's just medicine and then NovaBleep, and then like when gyms were open, I had 2 hours a day for gym, 6 days a week. Now that gyms are closed, maybe it's a blessing for me because I spend those 2 hours doing stuff.
So it gives you more time to then focus on the business.
It's giving me more time, yeah. So hopefully by the time the gym open, I would have like finished my MBA course. I would have done the exams in June or July, but I'm just trying to like rush through the course before gyms open so that when it's open, I don't need to do any MBA anymore.
What's been the most valuable lesson though you've learned about all of this, your journey, entrepreneurship?
I think there are two things I would like to say. The first one might sound a bit cocky actually, but I think it's very valuable. It's when you want to do something, a lot of people will say to you, don't do it, or we don't think this will work, or are you sure about that? Like, take the safe route. Like, okay, I'm starting businesses in medical school. People are saying to you, concentrate on medicine. Why are you starting 9 figures? Or concentrate on medicine. Why are you doing cryptocurrency? Why is anyone ever going to invest in digital currencies? Obviously now, like looking in hindsight, I was right to do both of those things. But at the time, everyone was also right to be worried. But in terms of that, I think, like, obviously you should listen to people's advice, but don't necessarily take somebody's advice if they are not within the sector that you want to be in, or if they have not done what you want to be doing. So if I've got entrepreneurial dreams, I shouldn't be taking someone's advice if they have not been a successful entrepreneur. And successful is obviously like, it changes like dependent on who you are. But if in my eyes, this person is not successful in my field, I shouldn't necessarily be listening to his words of advice and take it like 100%. So that's the first thing I want to say. Like, I had a lot of close friends all tell me, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And colleagues as well?
Yeah, colleagues as well. And I don't think bad of any of them. Obviously, like that is them saying it from their judgment. But if I didn't do it, I would not have known that I could do it. I would have been I would have been a doctor, yes, but I wouldn't have had 2 successful companies now, and I've been like having all these cryptos that I currently do. So my first word of advice is, don't just take someone's advice if they are not successful in the sector you want to be in. My second word of advice is, if you've got something that you want to do, just do it. But obviously, like, plan it out and then do it. Don't just jump into something. So with this, the cryptocurrency one works. People see like huge percentages. I post it on my Instagram all the time, like, oh, I just did 1,000% on this coin. Oh, I flipped this coin for like 600%. And then people pop up to you like, oh, can you tell me what to do? Or I'm going to invest next week. But when I say to someone, you should just do it, I don't mean, oh, jump on because someone else has jumped on. You have to first research it, learn about your part. If in business, like, then you want to like look at, is your idea viable? Develop your idea, look at the competitors in that space. If you want to get into cryptocurrency, which is fine, but if you don't know what the blockchain is, if you don't know how Bitcoin, Ethereum work, if you don't know how each of the coins work fundamentally that you are investing in, then you shouldn't be jumping in. Like, fundamentals, like, are everything. If you fundamentally don't know what you are jumping into, then don't jump in. But if you want to jump in, then fundamentally learn what it is and then actually do jump in. And that is my second word of advice.
Yeah, very important pieces of advice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's the vision then for NovaBleep? I suppose you mentioned it earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
It's the building on the AI stuff. Yeah, I've got like other ideas. Like how I said I had 13 ideas in medical school. I've got all of them listed on my laptop still, so that if I want to, I could jump into one of those.
All right.
However, like since NovaBleep, I've had plenty more ideas.
Okay.
So I think like I guess just continue
to work on those. Where'd you get your drive from?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure anymore. So at one point, I thought it was money, but it isn't money because I've made the money in cryptocurrency, and I didn't really care. I just made the money. Yeah, so it's not money that drives me. I guess I just like building things.
Yeah. Okay.
And having them affect people.
Yeah. Well, nice to speak to you, and thank you so much for just sharing your thoughts and your advice. Where can people connect with you if they wanted to get in touch with you, find out what you're doing?
Currently, I only really use Instagram and LinkedIn. I guess my Instagram is at Jamil Foridi. Jamil Foridi.
Okay, so Jams
Foridi.
Okay.
That's not really professional, to be honest. I show a lot of sports on that. And then my LinkedIn is just Jamil Foridi.
Okay, yeah. That's great. I'll put that within the show notes. Well, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to me. You take care, and I wish you all the best with your businesses and your plans for the future.
Okay, thank you. It was nice to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, rate it, and review it on iTunes, as this can help others find it. If you'd like updates on the podcast, you can follow the pages on Instagram or Facebook by searching for Well Restorer. If you have any questions or would like to give some feedback, you can send an email to info@wellrestorer.co.uk. Thanks once again. Take care.